Ladies and gentlemen, and fantasy footballers of all age, it is Thursday night, 9:15. Yes, we normally start at 8, starting at 9:15. I'll explain that in a little bit. But in the meantime, you have the Commish, Seth, along with Keith, 2020. How you doing tonight, Keith?
I'm feeling good, man. Another great, good show ahead. Thursday night, camps are in. I'm excited. I'm pumped for a good show.
Awesome. Well, Cyclops, for any of you who are missing him, he will be in a few to give us his input on what we're going to be talking about tonight on our second part of our burning questions. We got some good things to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about regression. We're going to talk about who to look forward to. We're also going to talk about some draft strategies. It's now starting to get to that point where we're getting a little closer. And we have to start thinking, how are we going to draft? So we'll get into a little of that tonight. But in the meantime, I threw the number up at the bottom of the screen. Give us a call, 772-800-BUZZ or 2899. You can speak to us. Also, if you're watching it live via Facebook or live via YouTube, go ahead and make any comments because we can see them and we will respond real time during the show. If you have any questions, comments, call us, comment. We're ready to go. Keith.
I got a DoorDash gift card that's still burning a hole in my pocket.
Although my nephew John did call.
Oh, he did. That's right. So I got to get him one. That's easy.
Right.
Shoot me his email, and I'm gonna extend that out though again today.
Oh, that's very nice. All right. So the first caller gets a DoorDash. So dinner is on 2020 tonight. If you give us a call at 772-800-BUZZ. We're also going to throw out our trivia question. We'll do it a little earlier tonight to give you all some time to think about the question. In the meantime, Keith, what's going on in the NFL right now?
So everyone's excited. I mean, finally, it's basically what we're considering our start of preseason. All camps are open. There's a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement, a couple big signings, some contract extensions that happened today. The two top tight ends in football, George Kittle, Travis Kelce got paid. As they should, and I think they got very, very fair contracts. And other than that, it's a lot of excitement. The door is open. The camps are in. This is where the rubber's going to hit the road. Got to really pay attention. It's great. NFL Network is streaming a lot of these camps. You're getting to see first looks. It was pretty interesting to see Tom Brady throw a pass to Chris Godwin today, Mike Evans. So
did you see
pretty cool.
They had some videos.
They did with Tua. Yeah.
And
you see Tua came out wearing a Fitzpatrick jersey. That's just the kind of guy Tua is. I love it. And they're actually running.
The big controversy was, is it a Fitz jersey or is it a Landry jersey?
That's a good – yeah. I saw that. But I love that kid. He's a great kid. And actually, Commish brought up something that is a lot of fun. And we were all just starving for football. And one of the greatest things that we've seen is Hard Knocks. And Commish said, you got about 10, 15 minutes into it?
Only at the beginning of it, and I'm already glued to it. And it's very interesting this year because usually they do one city or one team. This year, I guess because of logistics, they're doing Los Angeles. So you have both the Chargers and the Rams. So it's very interesting. I don't have anything bad to say about either one of those teams. Or they're kind of those teams that if you're out here in the East, it's just like, okay, they're teams to follow.
Mm-hmm.
They're not rivals of the Dolphins. They're not rivals out here. So I kind of enjoy. I'm going to enjoy watching it. If I have more time to spend watching it, I will. And we can talk about that on the show.
With the Chargers, it's interesting because it is the end of an era. I mean, the Phillip Rivers era. The Phillip Rivers era is gone, and you got Tyrod there until Herbert takes over. So that is going to be interesting to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I was talking to my son about the fact that they're going to be talking about Tyrod Taylor again as he gives way to another first-round rookie, like he did with Baker Mayfield. So it should be interesting to see, again, having Tyrod have to take that back seat.
He's that rebound, bounce-back girlfriend. That's what he is, the poor guy.
Yes, that's true. All right, guys, give us a call, 772-800-BUZZ, 2899. We are going to go ahead and get started right into the burning questions. And one of the questions that people are asking us is, what are some of the biggest draft mistakes? What things should we watch out for? And you know what, Keith, I'm going to start out with the first one that we can talk about. And that is jumping on board at the end of a position run, right? We've all seen it. We've seen all of a sudden the quarterback start going, like nobody touches a quarterback, and then boom, And then everyone starts grabbing a quarterback. Same thing happens with tight ends. Same thing happens with defenses.
Mm-hmm.
What you don't want to do is be the guy taking that fourth or fifth one after that run has started, because most likely you're reaching. 1, 2, you could probably get that player a little later on in the draft.
That's right. That's right. It was a little like the toilet paper craze in February and March, right? For some reason, somebody decided we have to go buy all the toilet paper, and everyone just jumped on the bandwagon. And Commish makes a really good point. One of the things that I recommend the most is going into your draft, make your cheat sheets, keep your ADPs in order, and don't get so dismayed by what the fray is doing because of those runs. Stick to your guns. There's going to be organic transitions. Things are going to happen organically through your draft, but stick to your guns. Mind your ADPs, mind your position rankings. Don't go nuts, especially what the Commish just said. If you're on the tail end of one of those position runs, draft, you use those expert consensus rankings along with your positioning and make those wise decisions. I could not agree with you more. And it literally happens every draft at some point.
Yeah, and it will, and people will jump on board. And before we go to our next one, we want to welcome Cyclops. He is back.
Hey.
Right off the road. He was on the road, ran into his studio, got on the computer, and is joining us tonight. How you doing tonight, Cyclops?
I'm here. I'm doing great. It is great to be on. It was just a 6-hour drive to get home just to do this show.
How your knees feeling, man?
All right. Well, we were just talking about draft mistakes. We really only got into one of them. We talked about, one of them, but then Keith had some really good information as well. We talked about not jumping onto one of these position runs, especially after it's been gone for 3 or 4 players, and then you go ahead and grab that fifth. All you're doing is hurting yourself. But another mistake, besides that, another mistake that people are making is when you fall in love with a player, and Keith, you and I have done this
many times.
I know you've done this too, but you fall in love with a player, and it doesn't even have to be rationally. There's nothing wrong with finding a player that you really like, that you think is going to be successful, so you want to grab him, even if it means jumping up a few to get him. But to have that one player, that 2 players that you're going to get no matter what, you got to be careful. You got to make sure you're sticking with your guns and you're doing everything correctly.
That's exactly right. You have to be careful to not overdraft. And you said the most important phrasing is stick to your guns. Make your cheat sheets. Stick with your ADPs. It's very hard in drafting to not. It sounds crazy, but to not get emotional and stay disciplined. And you'll have a tendency to get locked in a few guys that you're so high on, and you tend to overdraft. It is a huge mistake, and that's going to happen. You're going to see on several teams throughout the draft.
Right. What about, do you guys, any other mistakes that you see?
Yeah. Well, actually, Cyclops, you haven't said anything yet. Get on. There's one I want to talk about, but give you a chance. You got your cans on.
All right. On the opposite end of getting stuck on a guy, don't think that you're the only one that knows about sleepers, right? There's sleepers out there. You're like, oh, I'm going to wait on this guy. I'm going to get him in the 12th round. And all of a sudden, somewhere in like the 10th round, he goes, and then you're kicking yourself for not either jumping on him earlier or thinking that nobody else knew about him.
I think you took Patrick Mahomes, Brad, 2 years ago, and it was right before
my second quarterback. Yeah,
right. And I was ready to snatch him up, and you grab him thinking. And this goes back to, you got to keep an eye on your draft boards, but it goes against some of that rationale, which is if you're keeping an eye on the draft board. And I will mention DraftKit. Go to draftkit.com to get your draft board. If you're going to have a live draft, or even if you're not, you're going to have a virtual draft and you want to have a big draft board in front of you, go to draftkit.com. That being said, you can see the people that are before you, what they've already taken and what their position needs might be. Now, I had not drafted a quarterback at that point. I was waiting and waiting. You had already drafted a quarterback. So I'm thinking there's no way Brad's taking a quarterback, and what does he do? He grabs a quarterback. So, that happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that happened to me last year. I was waiting on quarterback, and all of a sudden there was a run on second quarterbacks, And so I ended up getting my first quarterback. I forget exactly who it was, but it was already like after I think 3 people got their backups, because that's the round that everybody started grabbing their backups. So yeah, that can't happen. So you got to be a little careful there. And
Well, you're notorious for waiting on quarterbacks. That's your thing. for
You
a
know,
decade.
but you did bring up a good point, or we all did, which is I was sitting there waiting to fill my roster spot, right?
Right.
Don't be beholden to your starting lineup. If you feel, excuse me, like Brad did 2 years ago, that there is somebody on the board who is worthy of being picked, even if you haven't filled your starting lineup yet, you still need a third wide receiver, or you still need a tight end. But you know what? That second string quarterback is sitting there and you think that might be a game changer, grab them. Don't feel like you have to fill your starting lineup before getting some quality backup.
Drafting value, right? Drafting value at any place on the draft board is always, a potential there. Sometimes you can get them in the second, or like maybe the third round. There's a value for somebody that's still sitting there, but don't forget about that value in the 8th, 9th, 10th round. That somebody that you are high on. That's the great times to jump on someone like that.
I'll say one last big mistake, and that is in the first 3 rounds of the draft. That is not the time at all during drafting those first 3 rounds for you to take any kind of chances. Those have to be your bona fide studs. You'll look at a couple guys. If they are bona fide, one might have more upside than the other. Of course, you're going to take that. But if you're looking at something that doesn't have the longevity in fantasy of doing it versus someone else, it's not the time to get cute in the first 3 rounds. Your season could be over by a burnt first round or second round pick if you're looking for major upside, and there's some risk there. So you need to be very risk averse in those first 3 rounds. That is not the place to get cute. Start looking at strength of schedule, looking at if a Leonard Fournette is available to you, and that's not a great team, but he's there. Ahead of, I don't know, a Todd Gurley, you take them. You don't want to look and say, well, they're going against tough defenses. You don't want to get cute in the first 3 rounds. Take bona fide studs, because that's where the bulk of your team is really going to get made.
That's true.
And that doesn't always work out either. Sorry, Seth. That doesn't always work out either, because I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. It seemed like I think 6 or 7 of the first round picks ended up being busts. There was only a few in that first round. So yes, I agree with that statement, but also happens quite a bit where a lot of the people in that first or second round are essential bust value based from where you're picking them.
Right. Okay, well, let me tell you about a mistake I made last year, because we all learn from our mistakes. Last year, let's start off with the fact that in our league, or in one of our leagues, we decide when you get a draft position, you can choose where you want to draft. So if you have the 5th decision, you can decide to be number 5 or 6 or 10 or whatever's left after the first 4. I think I had 7 or 8, and I chose 10 because I wanted to have the comeback around. I wanted to have 10 and 11 and then go back up. And I'm thinking, I had created a strategy in my mind that I was going to go running back. That was my strategy. And when it got to me at 10, I thought there's no way I'd have a problem. All of the good running backs were taken. And I say stuck. And because I was stuck, I was still able to get the 2 top receivers at the time, which was Julio and Hopkins, at 10 and 11. But the problem was coming back around in the 3rd and 4th round, the running backs that were left were either running backs by committee or reaches, because I had not prepared. I was not ready for what it would happen if the entire first round was a running back run, and that's what it was. So do not go into my point is, don't go into the draft with a strategy without having a plan B, without having the backup.
That's good advice.
Here you go.
Yep.
Okay, guys, give us a call. Do you have any draft mistakes, things that have happened to you, things you've learned from others? 772-800-BUZZ. You get a Dine Dash gift card, thanks to Keith. give us a call. Also, trivia question. I'm going to throw it out right now, guys. All right. I hope this one isn't too hard. In this century, since 2000, of course, what are the only 3 universities that have had 2 different quarterbacks throw 30-plus touchdowns in a season for an NFL team? And I'm doing this as a homage to NCAA football, which is in big trouble this year. I wanted to have some type of NCAA college football question. So does everyone understand the question here? There are 3 schools that have had 2 different quarterbacks throw 30-plus touchdowns in a season. So throw that out there. Go ahead.
3 universities had 2 different quarterbacks. Okay.
So go ahead and make your comments on Facebook Live or on YouTube Live, or give us a call and get on the show. See if you get it.
Great question.
All right. Well, thank you, guys. All right. So give us a call, 772-800-BUZZ or 2899. Let's move on to one of the other burning questions we had tonight, which is, which player with a new team do you guys think will have the most success? We'll start with you, Keith.
And just to clarify, are we talking about fantasy success or NFL success? Because guys like
this is a fantasy show. What do you think we're talking about?
We're talking fantasy, but if you feel compelled to tell us about some defensive lineman who's going to do well, great. But we're talking fantasy.
Well, I think from an NFL perspective, for me at least, it's clearly Tom Brady. He's going to a system with an enormous amount of talent around him and improved defense. Exciting running back. Although Vaughn opted out, did he not? Is that right?
I believe so.
Keyshawn Vaughn opted out, but they still got Ronnie Jones.
Right.
Yeah, either way, 2 really good or 2 good tight ends. So from an NFL standpoint, for me, that's going to be Tom Brady. I think he's going to fall somewhere between the QB 10 and QB 11, which isn't horrible if you're not overdrafting him. He could be a starter on your team. So from an NFL perspective, Brady. From a fantasy perspective, Brady's up there. If not, I think it probably would have to be Rivers, just because of the Frank Reich connection. I think they're going to air it out there. So that's my 2 cents on that.
What about you, Brad?
I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins. Okay. I think I know some people are a little weary about it, but I think Kyler Murray is going to love having him there. Murray can run around a little bit. He can stay out of trouble. And when he does that, Hopkins will get open. He's great at finding holes and, to sit in. He can outrun people. He can make catches on the sideline that many other receivers can't make. So I think Murray is going to be able to throw to him, and he's going to throw to him often. And I think he will.
Can I tell you why that's not going to happen?
Let's hear it.
There's an interesting stat. Since 2010, if a quarterback runs more than 65 times, there has not been a 1,000-yard rusher or a 1,000-yard receiver on the same team. Last year, Kyler Murray ran 83 times. He's definitely going to run at least 65 again. And you got DeAndre does his best work definitively in the slot. He's going to be more on the outside in this offense. I have actually DeAndre as one of my regression players. He's still, to me, probably the most talented receiver in football. But that target share that he's had enormously, and that connection with Deshaun, I think I have him as one of my big regression players. I think 7 years in a row he's had 1,000 yards, something like 7 of 8 years. I think he's going to barely hit that.
All right, now we're getting ahead of ourselves because we will talk about regression, but I do.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I kind of agree with you, Keith. I think he'll have a good season. I don't think he will have the most success from these new people. And Tom Brady is not a bad choice. I didn't want to go with the safe pick. All right. And I know you two are going to laugh at me, but I'm going with Todd Gurley.
With Todd Gurley.
I really think that Todd Gurley going from a team that had one of the worst lines in football to going to a team that has one of the best run blocking teams in football. He's going to start getting catches again out of the backfield. I think we're going to see this resurgence of Todd Gurley. I have him as RB16. I have him going in the third round. If he's there, I'm grabbing him. I think he's going to have a surprising year, and I'm looking forward to seeing it.
So as I was on my 6-hour drive back from Atlanta, where Todd Gurley is, I mean, I just had dinner with him last night, but there are reports out of Atlanta that he's been limping around
on his knee. I saw that.
And they're a little bit worried about that. And then they're talking about, maybe a recurrence of his injury that, why he was held out before, and that they're already talking about limiting his touches. So that's a little worrisome. I'm on the same page with Todd Gurley. I think, they throw to the backfield. I was also listening to a stat that he didn't catch a lot of passes out of the backfield last year, but the Rams ran the running backs out of the backfield the highest percentage, which means Goff was not throwing to the running backs last year.
Right. Correct.
And Ryan will do that. It's just a matter of his health, I think, at this point.
Right. Okay, we're talking about limiting his touches in practice, by the way. But yeah, I saw that report as well. It was a little troubling.
Here's some guys that we really haven't thought about that could be surprises for new teams. They may not get as many points as Tom Brady. You already mentioned Phillip Rivers. What about, and I'm sorry to do this, guys, and I don't want to taint the show, and I think Adam Reisner is listening. What about Brashard Perryman, who goes from the Bucs, who couldn't get in because of Evans and Godwin, who never got a chance. He did play well when he did play. Then now he goes to the Jets, who no longer have Robbie Anderson. He's going to be the man in New York. I mean, what do you guys think?
I think he's
he had 5 touchdowns in the first 3 seasons, right? He scored 5 touchdowns in the final 4 games of last year with the Bucs.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying he's going to be a world beater. I'm not saying that you should even draft him in the first 10 rounds. I just would not be shocked, although I'd be upset and dismayed if he did very well for the Jets this year.
Well, I think the talent is there. I don't think Darnold is as much of a gunslinger as Winston, and Darnold still has a really good rapport with Jamison Crowder, who is still there, correct?
Right.
Not worried about Enunwa, but Crowder and Darnold have a strong connection. Perriman's a talent. There's no question. It's just a little bit of a different system, new quarterback. You're not going to get the kind of gunslinging out of Darnold, but you know what? He's going to go 3,500, close to 4,000 yards. It's got to go to someone. So he should definitely do well there. You're right. That is an interesting choice that you picked.
Here's some other guys that might do well, and let me know what you think. Okay, we got Teddy Bridgewater, right?
Yeah,
Carolina now.
Very good. Yep.
Cam Newton in New England. Melvin Gordon with the Broncos. We don't even know if he's going to start.
Actually, it was announced today that they're saying it looks like it's going to be a 1A, 1B.
Okay. All right.
Split carries essentially.
Backfield. Jordan Howard, which a lot of people are forgetting about.
Yeah.
And he's just a touchdown machine. In fact, he's one of the most prolific touchdown running backs in the NFL for the past few years. But people want to sleep on him. That's fine. Eric Ebron goes from the Colts to the Steelers.
Yeah. Right?
And Carlos Hyde from the Texans to the Seahawks. We know that Carson has a lock on that starting.
Yeah, Carson, Penny. I think that's a busy backfield, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is.
Right. And then there's Hoop in Cleveland. Hooper in Cleveland.
Yeah, but again, I like the Hayden Hurst position in Atlanta more than I do Hooper in Cleveland.
But he's not going. That wasn't a new team. Oh yeah, he was. That's right. That was a trade. Yeah.
Right. So 772-800-BUZZ 2899. Give us a call. Let us know who you think. Either let us know a draft strategy that you might have or a mistake that you want to stay away from. Also, let us know which player with a new team you think is going to do well. We did have a comment from Adam. So he's not very happy because I guess I put down the Jets, but I did talk about a Jet, which was more than we've ever done, probably. I think we tried to get through the Le'Veon Bell thing quickly. So I think we spent more time on Perryman than we really should have.
We didn't throw up when we talked about him. I mean, that's a step in the right direction.
So as you know, we are doing a show. I listened to some other shows when I was on the road the past couple days.
Right.
And one of the broadcasts, I won't mention, actually had Le'Veon Bell going way up the draft boards.
Yeah.
They really liked him. They actually had him in the top 10 of running backs. And I'm like, okay, I wanted to call and be like, hey, I want in your league. But no, I mean, you know, I had him pretty high last year, I remember. Even in our preseason mock draft that we did, I had him. I picked him early, and as I picked him, I said, I will not do this in a real draft. But I do remember taking him early then.
Well, let me, since we're talking about Le'Veon Bell, and it's inevitable we eventually have to, would you say he's a clear RB1, or would you say he's more of an RB2 at this point?
I think he's a. I still think he's a. Sorry. I still think he's a RB2 at this point for me.
He is literally on the county line of the low end RB1, high end RB2, because he's got no one there contesting him. Everything that on paper he should do well there. He's still one of the most talented running backs there, but just their scheming in that team is just. I know they've improved. I still don't think they're in fantastic shape. So right there, Seth, RB1, low RB1, high RB2.
All right. I know it's not the lightning round, but I thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, no, good question.
The trivia question is still out here. I have had 0 comments or 0 guesses. It might be a little confusing the way it's worded, but let's put it this way. Since 2000, who are the really good quarterbacks from the same school? It's that simple. There are 3 schools that have had 2 quarterbacks that have had very good seasons, 30-plus touchdown seasons in the NFL. So think about it. Let me know. Oh, we do have 1 comment. All right. So this goes back to, I guess, what we were talking about. Adam talked about, I guess this is about Le'Veon Bell. They don't use him correctly. He shouldn't be running up the middle. They should throw him in a game. He's a douche, or I'm not sure.
I think he's saying Gase. Adam Gase is a douche.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
That is correct.
That is correct. I think we established that people would even take Bill O'Brien over Adam Gase at this point, which is really sad. Okay, so that's our trivia question. Give us a call, 772-800-BUZZ. Let us know if you think you have an answer. Do either of you guys, if you haven't seen the answer already, do you have any guesses?
I actually have not seen the answer. I know you put it in there to show later, but I did not look at it. But I don't have a guess at this point.
Okay,
but I'm gonna think about it. Can I go?
USC one of them?
I'm sorry?
Is USC one of them?
USC is not one of them.
Okay.
So
could it be? You know what? I got one. I totally got one. NC State.
You are correct, sir. And do you know who the 2 quarterbacks are?
Yeah, sure. Rivers and Seattle.
Right,
Russell Wilson.
Okay, so there's 2 more. So both Phillip Rivers and Russell Wilson. There are 2 more college football teams. That's a good one.
Right down the street from me.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. So can we go back before we go on to another draft mistake? And I don't know if you guys discussed this before I got on. I know I jumped on a few minutes late, but this is I think an important one, and it's probably caught me a few times over the almost 30 years that we've been drafting, but try not to drink too much. Right?
I don't
or in some leagues smoke too much.
In some leagues, maybe in our league with certain people, but yes, you definitely don't want to alter your thought process too much, at least not before you get all your starters, maybe through the first 9 rounds, right? After that, maybe you all right, maybe you're feeling a little better. You take a chance on someone a little bit more than maybe you would have, but through those first 9 rounds, you want to be really careful. I don't know if it's coincidence that the guy who won the league in our league the past 2 years, right, Mike, always buys everybody a couple pitchers before we start.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Right,
Oh,
but I don't think he drinks.
I
And
don't.
he barely drinks.
When you were talking about drinking, I thought you meant just in general. I've got the bladder of a little girl, and I feel like every time I have to run to the bathroom, and I miss what's going on in the draft. So,
Okay,
although
so on that process, and sorry, Jonah, I know your son is on, but speaking of a bladder of a little girl,
yeah,
okay, and I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. You also have you watched a show tonight, moved our show back, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
I mentioned that I would bring up why we moved that.
I'm calling it the lame shows before bros.
Wait,
Okay.
what show was it?
It was Big Brother, but let me explain something to you. No. I'm glad you brought that up. And I know nobody cares, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it quickly, okay? Two things. First of all, if you remember, Brad, I was the one guy who supported you when you posted a thing in your family when you guys were doing some kind of lip sync or whatever, and I was the only one who was backing you up, saying you're doing a family thing that's really cool, and
oh yes,
right?
Yes, thank you.
So that's number one. So there's the guilt. Number two. So the point is, my family's really into it. On Thursday nights, it's a live show. So just like we like to watch football live, we don't want to tape it and watch it later. That's how they feel about Big Brother on Thursday nights. It's eviction night. And the second thing is we play fantasy Big Brother. So it does.
I was going to ask that.
So I do have 4 players in fantasy Big Brother that I follow out of the 16. And so far I'm doing okay. My person did not get evicted tonight, so I'm good. So yeah, there's a fantasy element to it. It's a lot of fun. It's Big Brother All-Stars. I know Adam watches it too. I hope I'm not calling him out for watching it as well. But yeah, so
okay, I get it. I
see a spin-off fantasy podcast of Fantasy Big Brother?
I would do it in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Okay. So I get it. But as other guys and fantasy players, girls, guys, whatever, we still have to give you crap about it.
Oh, I have no problem. Yeah. I fully expect it.
So here's my question. The follow-up question to that. Okay. Yeah. Very important. In just a few weeks, there's going to be Thursday night football.
Yeah.
Which will be on at the same time as Big Brother. What do you do?
Be interesting. Yeah. That'll be so they might. Oh, look, if Big Brother's on at 8 and Thursday night
football starts at 8:15,
we don't know. But yeah, I'll deal with it then, right? But as of right now, now we'll talk about whether or not we don't even know if we're gonna continue on Thursday nights because for our podcast, once the season starts, we know we're going to probably go to a Tuesday night schedule so that we can talk about the weekend before, and we can also give everyone tips on who to start, who to pick up, and that's what our plan is moving forward. But thank you, Brad. I appreciate you giving me crap because that's what we do, and especially since nobody else has answered the question yet. But I do want to go on before it gets too late to talk about who do you think is going to have a major regression this coming year. Brad, I'm going to put you on the spot.
All right, so this one, I think I have a few, but I think the one person who will regress, I don't think he's going to have a bad season, but God, I went blank on his name. It was a long drive today.
Have you been drinking?
No, I wish.
I find you Bearson.
All right, so we'll come back to you, Brad.
I'm thinking Adams. It's Green Bay running back.
That's so funny because that's my choice.
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones. Thank you. I had Adams on my head. Yeah. So Aaron Jones had 19 touchdowns last year.
Right.
Okay. I think he gets
those touchdowns away.
What's that?
Who's going to take those touchdowns away?
I think if Adams is healthy, he will. They have the rookie running back Dylan, right, who could get goal line carries. I think he comes back to about 12 touchdowns for the year, which will take those numbers. That's a lot of points off the board for him, which is my, regression. A star kind of coming back down to earth a little bit, but I still think he'll have a good year.
Funny, that was
let me make this clear before we continue. When we talk about regression, we're not talking about guys you shouldn't draft. We're not talking about guys that won't end up being productive in fantasy football. We're just talking about looking at last year's numbers, how they're going to perform vis-a-vis this coming year.
Right.
Keith, who do you think?
I couldn't. Number one on my list was by far Aaron Jones for the
Really?
same exact reason. 19 touchdowns is just going to be incredibly hard to repeat. You got, Devontae, Allen Lazard, who's, not a huge talent. I just don't see him putting up those numbers. But Cyclops did a good job of already talking about him. So I'll speak of a second person who I think is going to have a regression, and that's Amari Cooper. He's being drafted, I see, as the wide receiver 10. He has a tendency to disappear throughout the season. They drafted CeeDee Lamb. They have an emerging Michael Gallup. I just don't see him putting up the same kind of numbers as he did last year, even with what I think is phenomenal Dak Prescott. But I agree with Cyclops. Number one in that list is Aaron Jones. Those numbers are just too hard to replicate.
Okay, so I'll tell you the three I was thinking about and who I think is number one out of that list. Number one, I mean, again, I won't go in order, but Stephon Diggs, Lamar Jackson, and A.J. Brown. And out of those three, I'm picking A.J. Brown. Now, let me clarify. I still have A.J. Brown as a top 20 wide receiver. I would take him in the 5th round. We know that week 7 through 16, the guy was a monster, right? He finished 8th in wide receivers during that period of time. Right. The problem was, he was 47th in the league in targets during that span, right? So he's not a possession guy. We're talking about an offense. It's a run-first offense. We know that. A lot of people are picking him as a wide receiver 1. I have him as a 2, borderline 3. I think we're going to see a regression on A.J. Brown. It's a run-first team. I just don't see him repeating what he did in week 7 through 16.
Agreed. You can't average 20 yards of reception and continue to keep up. That's a torrid pace.
Right. We talked about him either Monday or last Thursday about players, and we discussed how his average per catch was over 20 yards, which is unsustainable. And you got to be a little bit careful. Like he's like number 17 wide receiver. In that range, 17, 18, 19, somewhere in that range.
And that might be good, and that might be the right position for him. I'm just saying from last year to this year is going to be a different story. Just like with Stephon Diggs, he might get more of the focus of the offense, but he's got a guy throwing to him who can't hit the side of a barn.
That's right. So that 70% completion rate, Josh Allen doesn't come anything close to that. Diggs is going to seriously regress.
So I agree with some of those other players you have. I'm going to throw another one out there. You guys won't like it, but Devontae Parker is going to be a little bit tough this year because of Preston Williams, right? Look at his numbers before and after Williams was playing and hurt. He was around 10 or 11 points a game before he got hurt, but almost 20 after he got hurt. So, but with Williams coming back, if he, obviously barring him being healthy, it's just targets that are going to be taken away. Not that he's not going to have a good year, but I think he'll be closer to that 10 to 13 points per game, not 18 to 20.
Yeah, I think there'll be a regression. I don't think it's going to be a major regression. I mean, they're limited on the wide receivers, especially since Albert and Hearns. So they're very limited on receivers. They don't have the time to really practice to get, even though Preston Williams played last year and he was able to stretch the field at times, it was really Parker that Fitzpatrick trusts. The question will be, if and when Tua comes in, is that going to continue?
Right. And will that hurt or help? Right. It's likely not going to stay the same. It's either going to go one way or the other. You're going to see them kind of light things up, or you're going to see them have a tough time. So you got to be a little careful with that.
Okay, so let's do this, guys. I'm going to go ahead and just give some hints to the trivia question before we do the lightning round. There's two more that we have to mention. One college we already mentioned was North Carolina State with Phillip Rivers and Russell Wilson. Another one is California, University of California. Does anybody know who the 2 quarterbacks are that have had 30-plus touchdown seasons from University of California? You guys are drawing a blank.
I don't.
The Hall of Famer.
Since 2000? Since
Or
2000?
will be a Hall of Famer. He's still playing. Yes, since 2000.
From Cal.
I'll give you the answer to this one. It's Aaron Rodgers and Jared Goff, both from Cal. Both had over 30-plus touchdowns in a season, and there's only one more school left. And the hint is from the state of Florida.
So Florida, who went to Florida? Culpepper went to Florida, in a Florida state. Tebow obviously went there, but Tebow didn't have 30 touchdowns. Culpepper did.
Go to the University of Florida.
He went to UCF.
Central Florida.
UCF.
And Tebow went to Florida. Florida State.
Culpepper.
Who else went to UCF besides Dante Culpepper?
Who went to UCF?
So he was drafted not long ago. He went to Jacksonville. Bortles.
Yep. Blake Bortles. Correct.
Bortles.
Right.
Yeah.
So UCF.
So he threw 30 touchdowns.
He did.
Yeah, I guess a few years ago. Yeah.
3 years ago. So those are the answers. We got Blake Bortles, Dante Culpepper. See, Jonas said Goff and Rodgers before I can't believe he got it and you guys did not. I'm going to actually get him on the show instead of you guys because maybe he, get somebody to answer these questions. Are they too hard? Do I need to just?
No, they're great.
No, they're good. I like that. That was a fun one.
Okay. All right. So let's do this. We're going to jump onto the lightning round. We still have time. If anybody wants to join us in the lightning round, give us a call, 772-800-2899. Not only will you get in on the lightning round like John did last week, but you'll get a Dine Dash card from 2020. So dinner's on him. I think, Keith, you actually have the lightning round for tonight, correct?
I do.
All right. Nobody's calling in. Let's go ahead and get started.
Let's kick it off. I'm sick of all the lying in politics. We're going to play true or false tonight, gents.
All right.
True or false?
True.
Tom Brady will be a top 10 quarterback this year.
Oh, that's tough.
True.
True? Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of on that state line again. Right? Yeah. True or false? David Johnson will rush for over 1,000 yards and grab 60 balls.
False.
Okay. False. I think it's true and false. I think he will rush more than 1,000 yards. I do not think he will get 60 catches.
Right. Not with Duke Johnson there.
Right.
That's correct. I agree with you. I think you kind of already answered this one. Stephon Diggs will have 1,000-yard season. True or false?
I think he will.
Yeah, true.
I think he will, but I'm still not picking him. There's a lot of guys getting 1,000 yards that are not good. He'll get 2 touchdowns.
Right. Sounds about right. All right.
Julio Jones.
True or false? Josh Herbert will be the starting quarterback in San Diego by week 5.
True.
True. They've got nothing to lose there. And I only watched the first 10 minutes of Hard Knocks. So I really don't know what they're thinking. But yeah, I think it's true.
Similar question, true or false? Tua will be the starting quarterback in for the Miami Dolphins before the end of the season.
True.
I think it'll be possibly out of, and I hope not, injury to Fitzpatrick, or that our team is just doing so poorly. We're 0-8, for example, then they'll put him in. But I think they're going to do everything they can to prepare him, let him sit, let him watch, let him practice, especially since we missed all of this practice. I know it's lightning round. I'm sorry, I'm a little verbose. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. And, Fitzpatrick's going to have his back-to-back weeks with a total of nine interceptions, so that'll be the good time to insert him. True or false? Baker Mayfield will be the 2018 version of himself, not the 2019.
I'm going true on that one.
Oh, you like Baker?
I'm going false. I think Baker is Baker. I think what we saw last year is Baker in that offense.
I think their offensive line is better. I think he just didn't have enough time to get into rhythm last year. I know a lot of people were high on him last year. He went as a higher quarter. I think he was like number 4 or 5 quarterback drafted last year in a lot of leagues. You're not going to see that again this year. And I think you may be able to get him late as a value pick. And I think you'll see more of 2018 than 2019. I just don't know if that's going to be enough to be your number one quarterback.
For me, the jury's out. I think it's got a much better offensive scheme, but to me, he's got to show me. He's got to prove it.
You're not supposed to answer your own lightning round question. You're close to violating the rule. All right, go ahead.
I missed that memo. My bad. True or false? Cam Newton will not end up as New England Patriots starting quarterback by the end of this season.
True.
I just don't see him staying healthy.
No. And they'll lose patience with him.
True or false? Cyclops is wearing day of the week girls' panties. Again.
Which day?
Any day.
True. I didn't know if you were saying Thursday. I think he's wearing Tuesday is my guess.
I don't think he's really
so I don't
correct order.
I was on the road and
I know how you like to drive comfortably.
Always.
Yeah, day of the week girls' panties, by the way. Again. Good job, gentlemen.
Oh, was that it? All right. So let me just say this. I didn't realize until today that Joe Philbin is the offensive line coach for the Dallas Cowboys. I am going down on Ezekiel. I'm not going down. My rating on Ezekiel Elliott has gone down as a result. So that's my 2 cents for tonight. We're going to do this again Monday night, 8:00. Hope you join us. We're going to start as we get closer to the draft, guys. It's going to get more and more interesting. And I think we might even do a mock draft on Monday night, and we would love to have everybody's input. So please join us Monday night. Keep an eye out on Facebook, on YouTube. Brad, Keith, any final word?
Yeah, one more quick question. All right. Every show we're going to do this. What are the odds right now? We are 4 Thursdays away from the first game. How you feeling?
I'm at 33.33%.
33. All right. I think I was at 60% on Monday.
Right.
65%. I'm going up.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. 2020. Really
I'm still at 50-50. Yeah, we're
50-50.
50-50. 2020 to 50-50.
Every day that they don't cancel it, and you're not hearing of the cases and that they're really working hard and they're testing, I'm getting more and more positive. So we will see.
Don't use the word positive. That's not good. Everyone, please stay safe. We will talk to you all again Monday night. Talk to you later.